If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and another tutorial. Today I'm going to sew along with you the Joseph Messenger bag, a Shamballa bags design. Now this is part of their men's collection, but really this is the best gender neutral bag you could come. You can make it more feminine, you can make it masculine, you can do so much with the color blocking of this. It is a great shape. Okay, let me show you some amazing features of this bag. So there are two different flap styles you can do. I did the raw edge style. I love doing edge painting. I mean, like seriously, look how nice and professional that looks. But she also has instructions on how you could do it if you were doing it in cotton fabrics or what have you. On the back, we have just amazing color blocking in this pattern. So you can do so much with it. But we have a large slip pocket. It doesn't look like there's a slip pocket, but there is a large slip pocket right there. Look at those connectors for this crossbody strap. And I mean, Sammy does not disappoint. There are just so many great details about this that just takes the bag to the next level. Like seriously, I love it. Underneath the flap, this is my favorite part of this bag. This slip pocket here, so you can see it's a double magnetic snap closure. But in this slip pocket, there's a lot going on. So on the one side, you're going to see we have like two pen slot holders and another slip pocket here. My Pro Max iPhone fits in there in its case perfectly. Plenty of room. Also has an optional little key holder here. Of course, the slip pocket in there as well. On the inside, we have a Welt slip pocket. I just love that. I think this might actually be my new favorite style of doing slip pockets. And then on the opposite side, it's a slip pocket as well as a zipper pocket in the front. This is a drop-in lining, but it's an easy drop-in lining. Do not be scared of this drop-in lining. It makes it go so fast and so easy to turn. I just love making this bag. Oh, also, she is optional piping. So I made my own piping out of vinyl. I got to play with my piping foot, which I haven't got to play with in a while. And yeah, but so many options you can leave on or take off to make the bag a 100% your own. Not a hard bag to make, not at all. Materials I used in this bag. So the vinyl in this is two colorways. I believe it's honey. I want to say chocolate. I'm terrible with the names, but it's part of the Patina line, the Patina vinyl line from Galaxy Customs. I think it's just perfect, that de-stressed look for this messenger bag. I just love it. My lining is the Dayflex. I don't even know what it's called. Dayflex. It's from Zipper Valley up here in Canada. It's kind of like this satiny. It's a water repellent material. It's not water resistant or waterproof. It's water repellent. But it kind of has that, do you hear that? I can't really explain. It's kind of silky almost, but not. Yeah, so this is my first time working with that. It was good. It does fray a little bit, so definitely don't use it for anything that may have a fraying edge, but I think it just is perfect for this bag. All my hardware is from Emmeline Bags. My zipper and zipper pulls are from Blue Cala. This webbing, I believe, is from Zipper Valley. I can't remember for sure. I believe you can also get this from Sew Yours and from Blue Cala as well. So yeah, that's all of the guts in here. Interfacing. I used Bouncy Firm from Serial Bagmakers. That's over in Belgium. It is kind of like if Foam and Decovil Heavy had, or Decovil Light had a baby, it would be Bouncy firm, and I bought a roll of it over from Belgium and just love it. I'm just loving it. The pattern does call for fusible fleece if you want to use it, so you can use fusible fleece. I'm sure you can use Decovil Light. Just make sure everything is kept out of the seam allowance. Do you for whatever kind of interfacing you want to do. If I was using cotton on any part of this, I would have backed it with EB Fuse Light, which is similar to an SF101, which I would get from Emmeline Bags. But yeah, minimal interfacing in this. Comes together well. I do have some Decovil Heavy scraps in behind the rivets or what have you. One thing I did, okay, in this part of the connector, in half of it, I have a Decovil Heavy piece. And for the smaller connectors here, when I made them, I actually backed them with Decovil Light, and you'll see that in the video, and that just gives it a little extra strength there. So yeah, these are raw edge painting. The pattern comes with 2 patterns in one, so how to make the bag, and then a separate pattern for how to do the crossbody strap to make it more decorative. Now, there are different options you can do for the crossbody strap. She also has an option where on the back side, you could actually put a decorative strip of the vinyl or the material you're using. I did not do that. I thought the webbing was good enough, but I did all of the other decorative features of that. Anyways, thank you so much, Sammy, for allowing me to do this tutorial. I have to revisit Shamballa soon. I really do. Just love making Shamballa bags. This was a highly requested tutorial, so I hope you guys enjoy it. And how about we get to making this bag?
So you're going to need some rivets, number 5 zipper tape, some piping cording optional, some webbing, 2 rectangle rings, 2 swivel clasps and a smaller swivel clasp, a slider, 2 triangle or D-rings, 2 magnetic snaps, a zipper pull, and your nameplate. Optional Giardini base coat, color, and protecting gloss. You're going to need 2 front back top panel pieces, front slip pocket exterior and lining pieces, 2 lining pieces there, back slip pocket piece B, 2 flap panels, 2 gusset pieces, a gusset connector, your optional piping vinyl, your flap contrast band, 2 gusset contrast bands, your bottom piece, optional key connector, organizer pocket contrast band, back slip pocket exterior A, 2 lining contrast bands, 1 slip zipper pocket piece exterior and lining, your Welt pocket strip, your 2 strap connectors, 2 strap connectors ease, and your strap connector piece here, which I will explain later what that is. Strap edge covers, 2 of those. Lining main panel centerpiece. 2 lining main panel side pieces mirrored to one another. Lining main panel front. Front panel bottom. 2 front panel sides. Back panel bottom. Your organizer pocket exterior and lining. Your Welt pocket facing, and your Welt pocket pattern piece, as well as your 2 pieces of stabilizer. So you're going to notice there are 2 parts of this pattern. We are going to work on the strap part now. I've already gone ahead and put my interfacing on these strap connectors, but we do want to make sure we draw out these lines when we're doing our placement, and you just use the cutout template to do that as per the pattern. Now you can definitely use glue here. I'm going to go ahead and use double-sided tape. I'm going to put some tape right along that top edge like so, and along the bottom edge. And then we're going to fold this down along that line using that stabilizer kind of as a guide for folding it over. Now only one side of the strap connector has the stabilizer here. I opted to put some Decovil Heavy in here just for some extra added strength, but we're just folding in that raw edge on both sides for both of these connectors. Give this a really good finger press. I'm just going to take my little roller thing here just to press those seams down really good. Now you're going to take your rectangle ring, slide it on halfway down, and then break those short ends up like so. Bringing that connector wrong sides together. And I'm going to just make sure my folded in edges all match up because we are going to top stitch this in place. So we're going to go up here as close as we can to the hardware and back down the other side. Now I am changing into a zipper foot so I can get nice and close to my hardware. So this is what that looks like all done. Now I'm going to use my pattern piece and I'm going to transfer my rivet placement onto the bottom side of these connectors like so with an erasable pen. And then I'm going to go ahead and I am going to punch out those rivet holes. Now we are not putting rivets in just yet. We just want to have our holes in place. So once you have them marked, go ahead and take your punch and punch out those holes. Next, we're going to take our other strap connector pieces. Now I chose to back all these with Decovil Light for extra security. Now this is where we only have two cut out. So what we're going to do is on the back side of the ones that are shaped, we're going to put some double-sided tape and we're going to put this wrong sides together with this other piece here, like so. And then we're going to go ahead and we are going to top stitch all around these with the seam allowance in the pattern. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to cut these out using the shape of the ones that we already cut out as per the pattern piece to make a nice and even edge. And this creates a perfect edge for edge painting. So go ahead and cut those out. We also want to transfer our rivet placement as per the pattern pieces onto these pieces like so, and you will go ahead and you will punch out those rivet holes as well. We are not installing the rivets just yet, we're just preparing them for them. Now I'm going to go ahead and edge paint these with 3 coats of base coat, 1 coat of color, and 1 of protecting gloss. Once those are edge painted, we're going to go ahead and install our rivets. So we're going to take our connector like so and put in 2 rivets. We're going to stick those rivet posts into our other connector pieces like so. Slide on your swivel clasp and then fold over the other side of that smaller connector piece, adding it into the posts and then putting your caps on. Go ahead and set those rivets in place and do the same with the opposite connector. Next, we're going to take our strap edge covers, and I went ahead and I edge coated the long sides of both of these. We're going to kind of fold them in half, right sides together like so, and stitch along that short end as per the pattern. Go ahead and open up those seams. I'm going to use some double-sided tape. You could definitely use glue here if you prefer. You just want to make sure that that seam allowance is butterflied out. Once you have that butterflied out, go ahead and turn these right sides out. Now we're going to go ahead and take one of the loops and slide it down on one of the ends of our webbing piece. Kind of slide it out of the way. Grab your slider, feed it up and around, bring it wrong sides together, and just stitch along that raw edge right here to hold that in place. Once that is done, slide that loop up to cover up the raw edge of the webbing. Once you have the placement nice and centered and how you want it to be, go ahead and install a rivet or 2 to hold that in place. And it just really is a nice way to secure that as well as hide that raw edge. That's what that looks like. Now we're going to work with the opposite end. You're going to take on one of the connectors that we had worked with earlier, put her on like so, and you're going to slide it up and around that slider just like we do with any crossbody strap. If you need a more detailed class on how to do that, that is down below in the description. Then you're going to take your other little loop there. Once things aren't twisted, make sure it's not twisted. And you're going to slide that loop on, kind of out of the way for now, and grab the other connector, make sure it's situated the right way, and do the same here, stitch across here, and then slide the loop up and rivet in place. So that is the decorative strap all done. It is just lovely. I just love this technique. Okay, so now we're going to work on our flat panel. So on the one you want to be the bottom side or the lining side of your flat panel, you're going to transfer the markings of your magnetic snaps, and on the opposite one that will be on your exterior, you're going to transfer the markings to where your nameplate will be installed. So here's my lining one. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to install my male side of my magnetic snaps. So magnetic snaps, that's the one with the little nubbin on it, as well as find my top and bottom centers. I will be backing these with scraps of Decovil Heavy as well, and of course duct tape on the back. And again, on the front one, I will be placing my nameplate. That's what that looks like all done. Now what we want to do is take our flap contrast band. I've transferred the marking as per the pattern. You can use glue here. I'm going to use double-sided tape and put it all along that line that we transferred from the pattern piece. Now we're going to go ahead and fold that edge into that line to enclose that raw edge. If you have a hard time going into this corner, you can do little 1/8 of an inch snips around the curvy parts just to help feed the fabric around that corner nice. Go ahead, finger press or use your roller to make sure that's a nice and sharp crease. Now we're going to take the main exterior of our flap. I'm going to put some double-sided tape down the middle of our contrast band, and then we're going to go ahead and stick this down along the bottom of the flap, lining up the bottom edge and the side edges like so. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to just top stitch along that folded down edge. Do not baste the rest yet. You just want to be top stitching along that finished edge that we just folded down on that contrast. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take those two flat panels. Again, you can use glue here. I'm going to use double-sided tape, and I'm just going to put a couple strips of double-sided tape on one of them like so. And then we're going to go ahead and put these wrong sides together using that glue or double-sided tape to hold it in place. So go ahead and line up those centers nicely. Get these as even as you possibly can. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to top stitch all the way around this as per the pattern seam allowance that is stated in the pattern. So I'm not giving out seam allowances. You do need to follow along with the pattern to get those measurements and seam allowances. So yes, I'm also going to use some clips just to make sure nothing slips, because we definitely want this flap to look amazing, because it is a key feature and key focal point of this bag. So go ahead and do that. And then you're going to go ahead and again, top stitch all the way around here at the seam allowance in the pattern, and I'm also going to baste with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance along the very top of the flap, as you see I'm doing here. Once that is done, you're going to go ahead and along this side and the bottom side and the other side, not the top part, we're going to go and trim the seam allowance to about 1/8 of an inch away from that top stitching that we just made. Now I'm going to go ahead and edge paint just like I did with the straps, with 3 base, 1 color, and 1 protecting gloss. This is what that looks like all done. Isn't that gorgeous? I love edge painting. I totally do. Okay, so next you're going to grab your key connector, go ahead and draw a center line down the center of the wrong side. And then I'm going to use some double-sided tape. You can also use clips, and we're going to fold those two long edges down to that center line. Now on the wrong side, and just down from one end like so, put some double-sided tape, grab your smaller swivel clasp, slide it on, and bring the connector wrong sides together, matching up that short end. Then we're going to go ahead and we are going to top stitch this. I like to measure down about 3/8 of an inch or so down from the hardware, and I'm going to top stitch up across that line and down, and I've put in 2 rivets for some added decoration. Now I'm going to take my organizer pocket exterior, find my top and bottom centers, and I'm going to use my pattern piece for placement of where my key connector is going to be. I'm just going to transfer that with a erasable pen and then put my key connector raw edge right along there and baste that in place. So that's what that looks like there. Now I'm going to take my organizer contrast band top, find my top and bottom centers. And what we're going to do is we're going to put these right sides together along that top like so, clip it in place. Then we're going to sew across here, and we're going to flip that up with our seam allowance pointing to the top, and then top stitch through the contrast band to hold that seam in place. This is what that looks like done. Now we're going to go ahead and we are going to take our lining piece like so. Make sure you have it situated so the little curvy corners are pointing down. Find your top and bottom centers. And then you want to place this so the tops are right sides together like so. Clip in place. So this is the top of that contrast band and the top of the lining piece. We're going to sew across this with the seam allowance in the pattern, flip it up, and then we're going to make sure our seam is going towards the contrast band and then top stitch through the contrast band. And this is what we got here. And now we're going to bring these wrong sides together, folding it in half. Just clip along at the bottom to hold it. The contrast band will be wider on the lining side than on the front. That is exactly what we want. Match up the seams of our contrast bands like so. Clip it in place along the sides and along the top to prepare for top stitching along that top. Make sure everything is laying nice and flat. And then go ahead and top stitch through there. So that is what that looks like. Next, we're going to grab our lining panel bottom. Again, make sure the curvy edges are at the bottom. Find your top and bottom centers. And with the lining panel bottom right side up, as well as the organizer pocket right side up, we're going to place these on top like so. Match up the bottom centers and the sides. Add it into the clips. Make sure it is on nice and straight from the top there. Adjust if you need to. And then go ahead and baste this in place. Next, you're going to go ahead and transfer the markings from the pattern piece for the pen pockets. I'm going to actually do double stitching up and then come back down on my stitching to add a little extra strength on both of those. That is all done. Double check everything goes in. You have our functioning pockets, and we do. Then we're going to take our front panel side pieces that are mirrored to one another, put them right sides together with our organizer pocket, clip in place. Then we're going to stitch these with the seam allowance in the pattern, open them up, and then top stitch the seam in place, pointing towards these side panels. Once that is done and looks good, you're going to take your organizer pocket contrast band, put it right sides together along the top of the organizer pocket, clip in place, and then you'll sew across this with the seam allowance in the pattern, flip it up like so, so the seam allowance is pointing to the bottom, and then top stitch through the bottom panel. And that is the organizer pocket done there. You can see your cell phone goes in there nicely. It's just perfection. Now what you want to do is go ahead and take one of your stabilizer pieces here, and you want to go ahead and fuse that to the back of that. Okay, so now we're going to work on our front slip pocket. So this is where you want to transfer the markings from your pattern piece for the female side of your magnetic snap. So go ahead and do that as per your manufacturer's instructions, making sure to back it with Decovil Heavy or Heavy Stabilizer scraps, as well as duct tape. Find your top and bottom centers, of course. I'm just going to make sure that my markings line up with the width of my male side snaps, and they do. Once that's installed, you're going to take one of the lining pieces, find the top and bottom centers, put these right sides together and clip along the top. Then you're going to sew this top seam with the seam allowance in the pattern, flip these wrong sides together and top stitch through the top. Okay, so that is that done. Now you're going to put this right side up on top of the organizer panel, which is also right side up. Make sure it is nice and straight down from the top and nice and centered. A clip in place like so. And then go ahead and baste this in place. That is our organizer pocket and a slip pocket done. Now just double check that your snaps fit, and mine do. That is amazing. Okay, so next you want to take your front panel back piece here, and we have it right side up as well as our flap right side up, and we are going to line our flap nice and centered along the bottom edge of this front back panel piece, top panel piece, like so. Next you're going to take your back panel bottom piece, you're going to put it right sides together, adding the straight edge of that into the clips like so. So you have sandwiched your flap pieces here, and this is right side down. You're going to go sew across here with the seam allowance in the pattern, and then you're going to open it up and then top stitch through that bottom piece. Now you're going to take your other stabilizer piece and you're going to fuse it to that bottom section like so. Okay, so now we're going to take our two back pocket, slip pocket pieces. We're going to situate them like this, put them right sides together like so, clip it in place. Then you're going to sew along here with the seam allowance and the pattern, open it up like this so the seam is going towards the side panel, and top stitch through the side. Once that is done, find your top and bottom centers. And then we're going to take that other lining piece and we are going to put it right sides together with this one, like so. Clip along the top straight edge. So with the seam allowance and the pattern, bring these wrong sides together and then top stitch along the top. Okay, so that is done. Now we're going to take our back panel like so, which is right side up. We're going to take our back slip pocket, which is right side up, match up the edges and the centers, and then you can go ahead and baste the slip pocket into place. Okay, so now it's time to put on our piping. This is optional. I've made my own vinyl piping. I do have a class for how to do that down below in the description. Now you want to make sure you have about 1.5 inches or so piping outside of the two short ends, because you do not want to sew through that later when we veer this off. Find the center of your piping strip. Now you'll notice the marking on our front, back, and top panels where we have where our piping is going to start and stop. Go ahead and transfer those marks to the panels like so, with an erasable pen. Now we're going to match up the center of our piping with the bottom center here of our back main panel. Put in a couple clips. Now to make it ease around this corner, you're going to put little 1/8 of an inch snips into those corners, especially if you're using vinyl, just to help it spread that fabric out and go around this corner nicely. And then you're going to bring it up to the mark. And when you get up to where the mark is, where our piping is going to start and stop, you're going to kind of veer that piping. So this will be where we have the cording cut out of the way, kind of veered off to the side like so. And this is going to make it so we don't have a raw edge for our piping. So this is why we cut the cording out of that 1.5 inches, because we do not want to sew through that cording. I've done the same with my front panel. I have basted these in place, and I'm going to cut off my excess off the sides using my main panels as my template to cut off that excess. Okay, now I've also gone ahead and on the back side of these panels, I've transferred this line from my front and back panel. That's for the drop-in lining later on. Next, we're going to work on our gusset connectors. I'm going to use some double-sided tape. You can definitely use clips. I've drawn my center line down the back of this already. I'm putting some tape down, and once again, we're going to fold those long edges into that center line. And then you're going to take this to the machine, and you're going to top stitch down each of those folded edges. Once that is done, fold this piece in half to make 2 separate connectors. I'm going to put a little piece of double-sided tape along one of the short ends on the wrong side of these. Then I'm going to take my rectangle or my triangle ring or my D-ring. I'm going to slide it on like that and bring these connectors wrong sides together. Now on my gusset pieces, I've transferred the marking on the back side as per the pattern piece. And I'm also going to transfer onto the right side of my gusset piece with an erasable pen where my connector placement is, like so. I've just kind of cut away that line so I can draw right through the pattern piece. Then you're going to take your gusset piece, I put some tape, or not gusset piece, your connector piece, and I'm using some double-sided tape to hold it in place and putting it nice and centered along that line, and we're going to go ahead and baste that in place. I've also gone ahead and put a rivet just above that basted place, or basted space, and that rivet is not going to show, it's just for security. Now we're going to go ahead and take our gusset bands. I've transferred my markings as per the pattern piece. Again, you can use glue or double-sided tape here. I'm going to put my double-sided tape above the top line and below the bottom line. And I'm going to fold those raw edges into both of those lines like so, securing with the tape or with the glue. Now I've already gone and transferred my gusset strap lines here from the pattern piece, and I'm just going to line these up with those lines, clip in place, and then we're going to go ahead and top stitch along the bottom and the tops and baste up the sides like so. So that's our two gusset connector pieces done. I'm now taking my bottom piece here, finding all four centers of all four sides. I'm going to take the short sides, put it right sides together with my gusset piece like so. Sew through here, push the seam towards the bottom and top stitch through the bottom as per the seam allowances in the pattern. So that is what that gusset piece looks like all done. Now what we're going to do is we are going to put this right sides together with our front main panel, lining up the centers of our bottom piece like so with our front main panel's bottom piece. Put in 2 or 3 clips. And then what you're going to do is you're going to bring up the sides, match them up with the top, and make sure those lines that we drew on the back side of all of these match up. A couple clips down the side. Same with the opposite side. And then you're going to go ahead and clip this the rest of the way around, evenly distributing that fabric. Now when you get to the corners, if it looks like it doesn't quite want to go around, this one was actually, it fit pretty good, but you can always go ahead and put in some little 1/8 of an inch snips into the gusset piece to help ease it around that corner like so. I found I didn't really have to do that. I just want to show you how to do that in case you're working with a vinyl that's a little bit thicker, that does not quite want to wrap around that corner. That is how you can get by that. Now go ahead, put on your piping or your zipper foot and sew around this with the seam allowance in the pattern. So once that's done, make sure all the seam is caught and that your piping looks good, which mine does. Now I want to be able to butterfly out these side seams. So I'm going down about 1 1/4 inches or so and just doing a little 1/8 of an inch snip within the seam allowance, using a little bit of double-sided tape on either side of the seam, just so I can butterfly that seam out to help reduce the bulk later on when we are doing the drop-in lining. So I'll do the same with the opposite side. And you're going to go ahead and take your back panel, do the exact same thing, sew it on, open up those seams, and this is what that looks like. So now along that line that we had already drawn on the back of all of these panels, above it we're going to take some double-sided tape and put it all along that top. And then once we have that tape in place, you can go ahead and you can turn the exterior right side out. Go ahead and push out all of those seams are really good, double checking your stitching, making sure everything was caught well. It all looks good. And once you're pleased with how it looks, you're going to go ahead and you are going to first double check that your snaps match up, which they do. Then you're going to take the paper off of that double-sided tape and you're going to fold the top edges down to that line. Now you could also use glue instead of tape here if you prefer. Just make sure you let it dry. Or you could just use clips like I'm showing you here as well. You just want to make sure that this is not going to slip when we go to do the drop-in lining. So go ahead and do this all the way around. Go ahead and set the exterior aside for now. So now we're going to work on our lining. So I got my slip zipper pocket combination thing going on here. Now what we're going to do for our lining and exterior pieces is we're going to put some double-sided tape along the top and bottom short edges of both of these pieces. Next, you're going to take your tape off the top of your exterior piece and you're going to take your zipper tape. Now I do not have my pull on here just yet. You're going to make sure you kind of have excess hanging over the right hand side and stick this down right sides together. Now on that right hand side of the wrong side of our zipper tape, I'm going to make a 1-inch mark, which is going to help us put the zipper pull on nice and straight later on. Now that we have the tape right sides together with our exterior, we're going to take our lining piece and have it wrong side up and also stick it down on the wrong side of the zipper tape, like so. You're going to put on your zipper foot and you're going to sew through this with the seam allowance stated in the pattern, flip them wrong sides together, and then top stitch underneath the zipper tape there. So this is what that looks like now. Now what we're going to do is on the lining side, so the lining side is right side up, you're going to take the paper off the back of the tape and we are going to line this up perfectly along the unsewn side of the zipper like so. Flip it over, do the same with the exterior side, and that's going to show you, you're going to kind of have two loopy things here going on. Like so. Go ahead and sew across there. We haven't top stitched yet, but what we want to do now is undo that zipper fully, and then you can go ahead and turn these wrong sides together like so. And then we're going to go ahead and top stitch through that side we just sewn. Okay, so that's done. I've gone ahead and put my zipper pull on by matching up those lines we drew on the back to make sure it goes on nice and straight. I've also transferred the mark as per the pattern release above the zipper. Now we're going to fold these in on each other itself like so, and we're going to clip along that line. Again, that measurement is in the pattern. Then we're going to go ahead and we are going to clip down the sides as well, matching up all of those raw edges. Again, make sure your zipper pull is on. You can go ahead and trim off any excess hangover you have of your fabric if you have some extra like I did, and your zipper tape. And then we're going to baste up the sides and top stitch along that top like we have done here. Now we're going to take our front main panel center. I've drawn a line down from the top as per the pattern, and we are going to line the top of this zipper pocket along that line, clip in place, and then go ahead and baste that in place. You'll be basting the sides and then top stitching the bottom. So this is what that looks like done. Now we're going to take these aligning side panels, and similar like we did with the front pocket, we're going to put them right sides together, clip them in place, and then you will push the seam towards the side panels and top stitch through the side panels. Right, so that is the back panel done. She looks great. And now we're going to do the optional welt slip pocket. Now this is really fun to do. So I've done my top and bottom centers and marked my line as per the pattern measurements. I have my zipper facing here. I'm going to put it nice and centered at that line. I've transferred all my markings onto the back of my zipper facing as per the pattern piece. I'm going to hold this in place nice and straight with a few pins. And along those long markings, we're going to go ahead and just sew along the long sides here and there. Don't worry about the sides, just from there to there and there to there. So just the 2 lines of stitching. And go ahead and in between the V's, start with your rotary cutter cutting and go back in with your scissors, cutting into the V's as close as you can to the stitching without cutting the stitching. And then you're going to fold the zipper facing and the lining panel wrong sides together and give it a good press. So you're going to kind of bring it through that opening, bring it around like so. And once you have that seam all nice and taut, go ahead and give that a really good press. Now that that's all pressed out like so, you're going to take your welt strip. We're going to, along the wrong side, put some double-sided tape, and we're going to fold this wrong sides together, matching up that long edge like so. Find the bottom center of the raw edge, and then go ahead and put some more double-sided tape along that raw edge. Next, we're going to flip this lining piece over, and we are going to put this nice and center, sticking it down along the bottom edge of that facing. So the raw edge is facing downwards. And you want to leave it so there's about 1/8 of an inch clearance between the top of that opening and the welt piece. Now from the 2 short edges here, I'm just going to take my chalk and mark about 1/8 of an inch in. Take your lining piece that has the tape on. Again, flip this over. And then with one of the sides here, we're going to line it up wrong side up like so along that facing bottom as well, making sure that that pocket's up and above. And then we're going to top stitch from that 1/8 of an inch line to the 1/8 of an inch line, just like so. Then you're going to take your lining piece and you're going to pull it down like so. And then bring up the other short edge to line up with the top of that facing, just like this. And then you're going to go ahead and you are going to top stitch where we started and stopped top stitching up the side, across the top, and down the other side. And then you're going to fold away your lining piece and just close up the sides of that pocket. And that is our welt pocket complete. Now we're going to go ahead and take our lining top panels. I've already transferred the lines as per the pattern measurements to the top side of this. We're going to match up the bottom edge and the top edge of our lining panels right sides together, clip in place. You will then go ahead and sew through these with the seam allowance in the pattern. Flip it up so our seam is pointing downwards towards the lining panel, and then top stitch through the bottom lining panel. So that's our 2 lining panels complete. Now what we want to do is put these right sides together, and we want to line up where our lining top panels meet. So we have a nice seamless line. Clip that in place. You'll do the same with the opposite side, and then you will also go ahead and clip the bottom side, the bottoms together as well. Now you're going to take the 2 seam allowances indicated in the pattern. You're going to start with the smaller one to about 1.5 inches down from the top, branch out to the larger one to about 1 inch or so above the corners, and same with the opposite side. You can see here how it branches out, and I've gone ahead and I've opened up my seams just like we did with the exterior, and then along the bottom you're going to go ahead and sew that with the larger seam allowance in the pattern. Now to box the corners, we're going to kind of open up those little corners like so, bring the bottom and side seams together, nest them together, and then you're going to sew across those corners with the larger seam allowance stated in the pattern in that step. And you'll do the same for the opposite side. So now that we have that lining done, you can see how good that looks. Now we're going to do the same as we did with the exterior with that line we drew along the top, and you're going to put double-sided tape all the way around. Once the tape is on, we do not need to turn this one right side out. You're going to go ahead and fold that top edge down to that line with our lining wrong side out. Now that that's done, what we're going to do now is take our lining panel, make sure you have the pocket you want at the back, and the one at the front at the front. We're going to drop this into our exterior. We're going to match up our 4 quarter section centers, so you should be able to see the snips of the folded down parts from when we marked our top and bottom centers. Line that up with the lining and the exterior, and make sure you're clipping the edges as even as possible, because we're going to be catching both of these layers as we're stitching these together. Do the same with the side panels. Take your lining center seam matched up with your center mark of your gusset. Same with the other one, and once you have all 4 quarter sections pinned or clipped, you can go ahead and evenly distribute the fabric from quarter section to quarter section. Again, taking care to make sure that your folded down edges are matched up perfectly for your lining and your exterior. Now, if you're on a cylinder arm or a free arm, I'm on my cylinder arm, you're going to go ahead and you're going to sew through it like so. If I was on my flatbed, I would make sure my bobbin thread was good and I would sew it through the inside here. So go ahead and top stitch with the seam allowance stated in the pattern. So that is that top stitching all done. It looks awesome. I just love a drop-in lining like this. It is so nice. And the pockets in this bag, they're amazing. There are so many. So we are pretty much done. All you have to do now is get your strap, clip it on, pat yourself on the back, admire your work. I just love the look of this gender neutral bag. It is amazing. And just like that, we're done.
All right, that's it. That's all. Not too hard to make. A lot of fun. I think this is going to be a great seller at market as well. I've already got a couple clients interested in buying this one and possibly ordering custom ordering in the new year. So hopefully, fingers crossed. I just love this gender neutral bag. Anyways, if you like this video at any time, please do give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. There's Mr. Dexter right there. If you haven't already, check out the membership side of the channel in case there's something there that interests you. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can always buy me a coffee. That's linked down below in the description. And until the next one, I'll catch you guys again. Bye.